to these 10 Alabama players who need to take a step forward for the 2020 football season. You can find that piece, by the way, right now at BamaOnline.com. 10 who need to step up in 2020. It's a free read. Go ahead and do that at BamaOnline.com. I'll get things going with sophomore outside linebacker King Wakuda. You've got the top two spots in that outside linebacker rotation that are wide open now with the departures of Anthony Jennings and also Terrell Lewis. Wakuda, a raw and rangy prospect, spent the 2019 season getting coached up by outside linebackers coach Sal Sunseri. The physical attributes of Wakuda are very obvious. He's long, he's twitchy. He certainly has the look of what you want in today's edge defender. Opportunity awaits King Wakuda, and he needs to take advantage of the opportunity this spring because, as we talked about on Friday, a very strong injection of talent, five-star talent, multiple five stars have made their way on campus as early enrollees for Alabama at the outside linebacker position. I'll give you another one here. Will Reier, the place kicker punter who sustained the bizarre injury against Southern Miss last September on a kickoff, subsequently re-injured that hip in trying to come back from the initial injury. So his initial season at Alabama was limited to just 5 games. He converted 4 of 7 field goals and averaged 38 yards per punt in limited action in 2019. What you did like a lot from Will Reier was that his kickoffs were pretty much going for touchbacks. 22 of his 29 kickoffs last season resulted in a touchback. We'll see what kind of workload he takes on moving forward. He was trending in a good direction health-wise by the Citrus Bowl. We'll see if he continues with that into March and April and exactly how much is placed on him as a two-way guy at the punter and place-kicking spots. Defensively, Jordan Battle, as a true freshman, you saw him situationally in the dime package in 2019. You got Xavier McKinney moving on. You got Jared Maiden moving on from those safety spots. Even a guy like Shyheim Carter was sort of a safety net. If you needed him, he could play safety. So Jordan Battle looks to be very much an option to work with that first group when spring practice gets underway in March, just next month. Kind of crazy to think about. But Jordan Battle, a guy that I would say projects more as an every down safety. Maybe you'll see him get a look in some of the dime stuff at money and the like, but he looks more like an every down guy at safety. Offensive line, this one was a little tricky because you had a couple different ways you could go with it. Evan Neal would be an obvious choice, but he's already been a starter. That has more to do with where Evan Neal will line up in 2020. Does he stay inside at guard? Do they kick him out to right tackle to fill the vacancy left behind by the departure of Jedrick Wills to the NFL draft? So I went with Emil Ekiyor, a third-year player, an interior offensive lineman. If the decision is made to move Neal out to tackle, you're going to have an opening there inside, you would think. Landon Dickerson, though, also a guy who could potentially kick outside to tackle. And maybe it's Darian Dalcourt that steps in at center in that scenario. But I went with Ekiyor. He competed heavily for a starting job in 2019. The table would seem to be set, assuming Neal does move outside. And so we'll see what happens there. At wide receiver, John Mechie, I'm going to go with there. Obviously, with Jerry Jeudy and also Henry Ruggs III moving on, you got a third spot there with Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle coming back. And as much of this 3 wide receiver set stuff that you see from Alabama these days, if you're that third receiver, you're essentially a starter. And so John Mechie, a strong performance a year ago as an early enrollee in the spring. We'll see if he can carry that over into his second full year on campus. Back to the defense we'll go. How about Josh Jobe at corner? You know, he's kind of flirted with nailing down starting type roles each of the last 2 years. They've sort of evaded him, eluded him in each of those 2 seasons. He's had brief stretches where he's looked like he's going to be that third guy at corner, and then it's kind of transitioned to somewhere else. Well, again, with Shaheem Carter moving on, with Trayvon Diggs moving on, you return Patrick Surtain the second at corner. You bring in a mid-year enrollee from the junior college ranks and Ronald Williams. Even with that, you got to think this is the prime opportunity for Josh Jobe to sort of live up to the expectation that has been there really for sure over the last year, but certainly going into his third year. That's what you'll be looking for from Josh Jobe. I'll go back to offense with Jalil Billingsley at tight end for another one of these guys. You add Carl Tucker as a graduate transfer to go along with Miller Forstall as your veteran presences now in that tight end room. But there's a place for Billingsley to still be a significant player at tight end. And even if it's not so much in 2020, with Tucker and Forstall having just a year of eligibility remaining, Billingsley looks like a guy that when you look ahead to 2021 for sure, you're going to need him. So I'll go Jalil Billingsley there. Quarterback Mac Jones, not so much to prove after going 3-1 in starts in 2019, but obviously the competition kicks up a notch or two with Bryce Young, the top prospect for the 2020 recruiting cycle nationally, joining the mix here in January. Mac Jones is going to be the SEC's returning passing leader in terms of rating. 186.8 was his quarterback rating for 2019, and that's with 4 starts. So this isn't a situation where he played 70 snaps like a Miles Brennan at LSU. Mac Jones is going to make that list, and I'll go Daniel Wright at safety as well. You've got DeMarco Ellams that's going to be in that mix. Additionally, we talked about the departures of Maiden and McKinney and the opportunity that presents for some other guys like Daniel Wright. You saw him a little bit in the Citrus Bowl. McKinney had to come off the field there in a first and goal situation. Wright thrust into the mix. Michigan hits the tight end for a touchdown. So Daniel Wright going to have an opportunity for sure, though, to compete there with a young guy like DeMarco Ellams. And you think the experience for Daniel Wright going into his, fourth year in the program, I guess, third or fourth year in the program should help him out. Finally, DJ Dale on that defensive line. And you could really choose from Dale, LeBrian Ray, Christian Barmore, Byron Young, Justin Aboybe. But I went with DJ Dale because it still starts in the middle. It's tough to be a dominant defense if you don't have that guy on the point. Alabama, because of injuries in large part to Dale in 2019, really didn't have that dude and paid a price for it, especially with true freshman inside linebackers working behind that nose tackle. So DJ Dale, assuming he can get back to full health, a big, big piece for this Alabama defense in 2020. That's going to do it for a Monday edition of Southern Fried Sports. Thanks to Josh Smith for producing the show. The Lunch Whistle today brought to you by Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard North. Until 11 a.m. on Tuesday, have a great rest of your Monday, everybody.